On the functions of the plasma, we can see the first one is to transport nutrients from the digestive system to other body parts. Also, the transport of red blood cells containing oxygen to the tissues and carbon dioxide to the heart and the lungs. Tunapozungumzia hizi functions za plasma ni kama tu functions za blood. Kutransport nutrients kutoka kwenye digestive system kwenda kwenye blood, kwenda kwenye parts nyingine za body, na pia kutransport zile carbon dioxide gases na other waste to the heart. Also to transport white blood cells and antibodies to the site of infection. Plasma pia inafanya hiyo kazi ya kucarry out hizo white blood cells kuzipeleka sehemu ambako kuna infection kwa ajili ya defense. Pia to transport hormones to the target organs. Kazi nyingine ya hizi plasma ni kutransport hormone kwenda kwenye target organs kwa ajili ya functions husika. Again, to transport platelets to sites of bleeding cells to initiate clotting. Kazi nyingine ya plasma ni kwa ajili ya kusafirisha platelets ama tunazita clotting factors kwenda kwenye sehemu ambazo pengine kuna bleed ili ziweze kuform clot. Now we are going to look on the another component of blood, which is red blood cell, or in another name we can call it erythrocytes. These are red, round, biconcave cells with no nucleus, as seen in figure 1. Tutaona ni nyekundu, zinakuwa kama biconcave in shape, ambazo zina lack nucleus. Pia erythrocytes are formed in red bone marrows and their lifespan is about 120 days. Zinakuwa au tunasema kwamba zinatengenezwa kutoka kwenye bone marrows. Bone marrows ni ule uroto kwenye mifupa, ndiko ambako red blood cells zinakuwa formed, na zinakuwa na uwezo wa kuishi kwa siku 120. That is red blood cells. And now tukiangalia pia the liver and the spleen destroy all the red blood cells and release hemoglobin for the formation of new cells. After their life, tumeona kwamba red blood cells, they are capable of living 120 days. After then they die out and they are termed as worn out cells. For destruction, the destruction in liver. Liver ndo inafanya destruction ya red blood cells ambazo zimekufa. Then after being destructed, hemoglobin inabaki kwa ajili ya kutengenezea another new red blood cell. Hemoglobin is a red pigment in the erythrocytes which gives them a red color and has a high affinity to oxygen. So here we get another thing kwamba the blood ambavyo inavyoapia inapewa rangi na nani? Inapewa rangi na red blood, hizi hemoglobin ambazo ziko kwenye erythrocytes ndizo zinazoipa ile red blood cells rangi yake. The presence of hemoglobin inaifanya ile red blood cell iapie in that color. Now we are going to look on the functions of red blood cells. You can see first is to transport oxygen, also to transport carbon dioxide. Hizo ndo function kuu za red blood cell. Kutransport oxygen kwenda kwenye sehemu za tissue za mwili kwa ajili ya kazi mbalimbali, na pia kupick up carbon dioxide kurudisha kwenye lungs. Now tunaenda kuangalia component ya tatu ya blood ambayo ni white blood cell. On the other name tulisema kwamba tutaita leukocytes. These are irregular shaped cells as shown in this figure here. We can see these white blood cells with different shapes. Kwanza shapes zao ni irregular na zina nucleus, ukikompare na red blood cells wenyewe wana nucleus. White blood cells are produced in the bone marrow and in the lymph nodes. They do not possess hemoglobin and are capable of motility. Their motility enables them to get into site of infection. The difference between a red blood cell and white blood cell is that white blood cells, they do not possess hemoglobin, but a red blood cell has. Tumeona kwamba pia red blood cells zina possess nucleus, lakini white blood cells white blood cells zina nucleus, lakini red blood cells hazina. Pia tumeona kitu chengine ni kwamba these white blood cells, they are capable of motility, ambapo they are motility, they are important to bring them in the infection site. Na main function tumeona kwa ajili ya kufight infection, that is the function of red blood cells, white blood cells, sorry. Now we are going to look on the function of white blood cells. First is engulfing and destroying pathogens by a process called phagocytosis, as shown in figure here. Tukiangalia kwamba white blood cells zinafanya kazi ya kudestroy ama kuattack the pathogens. Tumeona kwamba tunasema moja ya njia ambayo anaweza kaitumia kuweza kumattack pathogen ni by engulfing. Anamuengulf kama tunavyoona katika hii picha hapa, then anamuua, breakdown, kwa hiyo pathogen anaondolewa kwa namna hiyo. Also producing substances that neutralize toxins produced by pathogens. Pia white blood cells wanaweza kutuproducea substances ambazo zinaenda kuneutralize sumu ambazo zimezalishwa na pathogens. Also causing clumping together of foreign materials and killing infected body cells. Zile foreign materials zinazoingia mwilini wanaziclump together ili kupunguza harm, na pia wanaweza kukill zile infected body cells. Zile seli ambazo zimekuwa infected, white blood cells wanafanya kazi ya kuziua ili zisiweze kuleta madhara mwilini. Now we are going to look on the effects of HIV on white blood cells. First, you have to know HIV attacks a type of white blood cells called T helper, which are essential for body immunity. And when they encounter an antigen, the T helper cells divide themselves to form new cells. Tunapozungumzia HIV attack, wanaenda kuataki nini? Katika mwili wa binadamu particularly, kuna kind of white blood cells known as T helper cells, and these T helper cells are special for enhancing defense kwenye mwili. So this HIV, they attack these T helper cells so that they could conquer the body system. And these T helper cells, once they attach to the pathogen or antigen, they tend to divide themselves so as to increase in numbers. T helper cells activate other cells in the immune system, and HIV has a protein envelope that can only bind to its receptor called CD4. HIV fuses its protein envelope with the CD4, then enters the cell. And figure 4 shows how HIV attacking T helper cell. Tunapozungumzia T helper cell, neno T alafu helper limetokana na meaning kwamba hizi cells zina tabia ya kuactivate zile cell nyingine au immunity cells zingine kuweza kufight kama kumetokea infection kwenye mwili. So it tends to help other cells. Also, this T helper cells, they have the receptors for HIV ambazo zinaitwa CD4. So this HIV virus anajiattach kwenye CD4, then anakonka na enter the cell, anaenda kudivide pamoja na cell, then anaidestroy. And here tunaweza kuangalia figure ambayo tutaona kwamba ni kivipi huyu hapa HIV virus anaenda kuwataki T helper cell. We can see this here structures tunaziona ni CD4 ambazo ni good receptors for HIV. Tunaona HIV wana structure ambavyo vinafiti kwenye hizi CD4. So wakijiattach kwenye CD4, after a while wana divide, wanaingia katika cell, wanafanya activities kama cell inavyofanya, baadaye cell inakufa. That is how HIV destroys T helper cells. HIV destroys T helper cells in the following ways. First, it reproduces inside the T helper cell, then ruptures the cell's membrane, and then new viruses are released. Umeona? Tunasema kwamba anaingia maybe labda kirusi mmoja au watano ndani ya seli mmoja. then akishaingia ana multiply na kureproduce inside the cell. After then ana kill the cell by rupturing it na ana release a lot of young viruses inside the blood. Another way, it alters the T helper cells so that when it responds to an infection, it kills itself instead of dividing to new cells. My dear student, tuliona nyuma hapo kwamba T helper cells zikimwattack antigen ama pathogen zina tabia ya kujidivide, kuzaliana wakawa wengi kwa ajili ya kumwattack pathogen. Lakini at this time HIV ana tabia kumfanya T helper cells ashindwe kuattack infection. Akiattack infection badala ya kudivide anajiua mwenyewe. Another way, it marks T helper cells as targets for destruction by other cells in the immune system. Kingine ni kwamba HIV akishamwattack T helper cell anamfanya kama target for destruction, so other body immune cells zinaenda kumwattack T helper na kumdistract. Another way is that HIV causes the fusion of many T helper cells to form a giant cell. Anazisababisha zinafuse, zinatengeneza giant cells in such a way that they are incapable of fighting against the infections and the diseases. Now, I hope you get a insight on the T helper cells and white blood cells as whole and how HIV affects the T helper white blood cells. Now we are going to look on the platelets. These are small fragments of cells produced in the bone marrow. They are also known as thrombocytes, see? And also they lack nuclei and cannot reproduce. We are going to see it in figure 5. Platelets haziwezi kureproduce kama hizo aina nyingine za cell. Pia ana lack nucleus also, and platelets we can call it on the another name ambayo tunaita ni thrombocytes. And now we are going to see this structure is a good example of blood platelets or thrombocytes. Wanazalishwa kwenye bone marrow, wana lack nuclei na pia hawana uwezo wa kudivide. Now we are going to look on the function of platelets. First, platelets play an important role in clotting of blood, which is an important process that prevents excessive bleeding when blood vessels is injured. Kazi kubwa ya platelet inayojulikana ni kwa ajili ya kusaidia clotting. Kufanya kama jeraha likitokea kusaidia pale jeraha lijifunge. Hiyo ndo kazi kubwa ya platelet. Another function is that blood platelets at the site of injury produces thromboplastin, which starts the clotting process. This is how a platelet initiate clotting. Ana produce thromboplastin ambayo inaenda ku start clotting process. And now tutaenda kuangalia how this process of clotting inakuwa. Thromboplastin, with the help of vitamin K and calcium, neutralizes heparin, an anticoagulant in the blood. Then convert prothrombin, which is an inactive plasma protein, to active one, the thrombin. Kwa hiyo the way ambavyo platelet anafanya kazi ni kwamba anaenda ku neutralize ama ku inactivate anticoagulant kwenye blood. Heparin ambayo ni anticoagulant in the blood. Anticoagulant ni kitu ambacho kinazuilia damu isigande. Kwa kisha neutralize hiyo anticoagulant, anaenda convert prothrombin kututengenezea thrombin. That is hii thromboplastin inaenda kutukonvertia prothrombin kwenda kutufomia active protein ambayo ni thrombin. Na hii thrombin sasa inaenda kusababisha au inaenda kuconvert fibrinogen kwenda kwenye fibrin. We can see here thrombin catalyzes the conversion of soluble fibrinogen to insoluble fibrin, which forms a network of fibers that traps debris in the blood cells. Kwa hiyo baada ya hapo ile pale ilokuwa formed tunaita thrombin inaenda convert soluble prothrombin kuwa insoluble thrombin, ambako huyo hapa thrombin ana attract blood cells na debris kwa ajili ya kusaidia eneo ambalo limekuwa ruptured ama limepata injury kuweza kufunga. and this result into a clot at the site of the wound. So platelet hapa anakuwa amekamilisha kazi yake vizuri. That is all about platelets. And now my dear student, this marks the end of our good session ambako tuliangalia blood kama blood. Also we look on their components. We saw kuna plasma, kuna red blood cells, tuna white blood cell, as well as the platelets. And I hope you gain an insight, you gain knowledge on what does they mean. And now I would like to invite you to solve these questions. First, briefly explain how platelets work on clotting formation and what are the components of blood. I want you to answer these questions so as you could remind yourself on what you learned. Thank you, my good students, for your good cooperation, for your time. Also, I would like to invite you to continue watching our channel, Educate for more knowledgeable information, as well as sessions and lessons from various subjects, including our good subject, biology. Thank you.